People still don't know the real reason. Maybe it's time I told.
Michael Jordan isn't just remembered as the greatest basketball player of all time. He's also remembered for holding grudges stronger than anyone else in the game. And no rivalry captured that fire like his war with Isiah Thomas. This wasn't a simple case of two stars competing. No, this was years of physical punishment, humiliation, and power struggles that boiled over into one of the ugliest feuds in NBA history. If you want to know why Jordan never liked Thomas, you have to go back to the late 1980s, when every trip into the paint for MJ felt like stepping into a battlefield.
As soon as he steps in the paint, hit him.
The Detroit Pistons weren't called the bad boys for nothing. They made an actual playbook dedicated to stopping Michael Jordan, and they called it the Jordan Rules. The strategy? Simple but brutal. Hit him, knock him down, wear him out. If he scores, foul harder next time. If he drives, throw him to the floor. Bill Laimbeer threw elbows, Dennis Rodman tackled him midair, and Rick Mahorn flattened him like a linebacker. And standing behind this chaos was Isiah Thomas, the smiling general of Detroit, giving his blessing as his soldiers attacked the NBA's golden boy.
Well, that's the Jordan Rules, and it was that simple.
What happens when he doesn't?
That's when Laimbeer and Mahorn would go up and knock him down to the ground.
Jordan was the league's future, the flashy dunker, the global superstar the NBA wanted to market after Magic and Bird. His game was beauty and dominance combined, and fans couldn't get enough. But to Detroit, none of that mattered. They saw him as a threat to their throne. And to Isiah Thomas, every hard foul wasn't dirty, it was strategy. He believed breaking Jordan down was the only way to keep the Pistons on top. Jordan, though, took it personally. He wasn't just being stopped, he was being disrespected, and he knew Thomas was behind the plan.
And you as a defender, your job is to take away his right hand.
The playoff wars between Chicago and Detroit became legendary. In 1989, Jordan averaged over 35 points against them, even dropping 46 in Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Finals. The Bulls pushed Detroit to 7 games. But in that decisive Game 7, disaster struck. Scottie Pippen was crippled by a migraine, shooting 1 for 10, barely able to see the rim. Jordan tried to carry the team, but the Pistons swarmed him with triple teams, hammering him on every possession. Detroit won, and Jordan left the court humiliated once again. For Isiah, it was business. For Jordan, it was betrayal.
How would you describe the way you felt then and feel now about having been the bad boys?
By 1990, the tension was boiling over. The Bulls were stronger, Pippen had grown, Horace Grant was tougher, and Jordan was more relentless than ever. But the Pistons didn't blink. Once again, they met in the Eastern Conference Finals. Once again, Jordan averaged over 30 a night. And once again, Detroit's Jordan Rules wore him down. In Game 7, Chicago collapsed, and the Pistons advanced. At that point, Isiah Thomas wasn't just Jordan's rival. He was the wall standing between MJ and destiny. Every elbow, every shove, every smirk deepened the hatred.
Every time you go to the fucking basket, put him on the ground. When he comes to the basket, he ain't gonna dunk. We're gonna hit you, and you're gonna be on the ground.
Work is still there.
We tried to physically hurt Michael.
Then came 1991. The Bulls weren't knocking at the door anymore, they kicked it down. Jordan and Chicago stormed through the Pistons in a 4-game sweep, erasing years of pain in one glorious series. Jordan didn't just dominate with scoring, he controlled every possession, outsmarting Detroit at their own game. By the final buzzer, the Pistons weren't just defeated, they were broken. But what happened next would scar Jordan forever. With seconds left on the clock, Isiah Thomas stood, gave a quick nod, and led his teammates straight off the court. No handshake, no respect, just bitterness.
Well, I think the crowd is cheering here for the Bulls right now, and the Pistons as they leave the court. I don't think they're cheering for the Bulls, but I think the greeting is for the Pistons as they are headed off.
That infamous walk-off became one of the darkest stains in NBA history. Everyone in the arena saw it. The cameras caught it. The Pistons ghosted the Bulls' biggest moment. To Jordan, it wasn't just poor sportsmanship. It was the ultimate act of disrespect. After years of punishment, years of humiliation, and finally earning revenge, Thomas couldn't even acknowledge him. Decades later, in The Last Dance, Jordan still called Thomas an asshole. That's how deep the wound was. And if you know Jordan, you know he never forgot.
He shook my hand when he won, but when I did the sweeping, he disappeared like a coward.
The grudge only grew sharper a year later, when the legendary 1992 Dream Team was announced. Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, John Stockton, and of course, Michael Jordan. It was basketball's version of the Avengers. But one name was shockingly missing: Isiah Thomas. Despite being a Finals MVP, a two-time champion, and one of the best point guards of all time, he was left off the roster. To many, it was the coldest snub in sports history.
Yeah, you can show me anything you want. There's no way you can convince me he wasn't an asshole.
The whispers were everywhere. Jordan had pulled the strings. "If Isiah's in, I'm out," he allegedly told the committee. And no one in their right mind would risk the Dream Team without Michael Jordan. Combine that with Magic and Bird's shaky relationships with Thomas, and the decision was sealed. Christian Laettner, a college kid, made the cut. Clyde Drexler made the cut. But Isiah? He was left at home, watching his rivals become immortal. The pain of that rejection followed him for the rest of his career.
It was okay when Larry Bird exited. We never looked back and said, oh, they were poor sports, they were bad champions. We were actually grateful of the lessons that they had taught us along the way in terms of how to win.
Because the Dream Team wasn't just basketball, it was history. It turned the NBA into a global phenomenon. Every highlight reel, every documentary, every story of that era features those players in USA jerseys. And Isiah Thomas? He's missing from all of it. For Jordan, it was poetic justice. Detroit had spent years beating him down, mocking him, and humiliating him. Now, Jordan had the power, and he used it ruthlessly. He didn't just beat Thomas, he erased him from the biggest moment basketball had ever seen.
They called me to ask me to play. Rob didn't call me to Rob. I won't play with Isiah Thomas. He assured me, he said, you know what? Chuck that one, Isiah. So Isiah's not going to be a part of the team.
And here's the truth. Decades later, the bitterness never healed. Every interview, every documentary, every debate about the Pistons brings the anger back. For Jordan, it was never just about fouls or rivalries. It was about respect. And to him, Isiah Thomas never gave it. For Thomas, it was about being remembered as great, yet forever overshadowed and shut out by Jordan's grudge. And that's why this rivalry lives on. Because in the end, it wasn't just basketball. It was personal. And when it came to Isiah Thomas, Michael Jordan never forgave, and he certainly never forgot.
Had we had the opportunity to do it all over again, I think all of us would make a different decision. Now, me, myself personally, I paid a heavy price for that decision.